Hi everybody. I have decided that I'm going to do a little short video of my life history. This is for my kids and my grandkids and my great-grandkids. I was born in August 22nd, 1941 to William McCombs and Dorothy Schubert. We lived in Boonville, Mississippi.
Your name is?
They named me Linda Joyce McCombs. When I was 9 months old, my mother and dad got a divorce, and I lived with my dad and my grandmother after that. And shortly, I was probably a year or two old, and my dad got drafted into the Army. And he ended up going to Germany and was
Occupation.
in the occupation forces. He spent his time in Germany, and then he was discharged. He came back to Boonville, Mississippi, and while he was gone, his brothers had sold their family farm, which my dad, being the oldest, thought the farm was his, I guess. Anyway, he was quite upset. So we stayed in Mississippi just a short time, and then we moved to Prague, Oklahoma. In the meantime, my dad had remarried. He married Eva Kitty, who was also from Boonville, and she had a sister that lived in Oklahoma, so that's why we ended up moving to Oklahoma. We lived there till I was about 10 years old. My dad had leased a little small farm, and we had cows and horses and pigs and chickens and everything a little farm has, but I don't remember what kind of crops he grew. But after a few years there, things went bad, and my dad had to give up the farm. So when he was in the service, he had spent some time in California. So his plan was to go to California. So in 1951, we loaded up the car. My sister Sue was born in Oklahoma. She was only about a year old when we moved to California. So we had this 49 Ford that we packed all of our clothes and whatever we could get in it, and put a mattress on the top of the car, tied it down, and off to California we came. And this is a true story. Don't laugh. We ended up in Bakersfield, where my dad got a job on a farm, and they furnished housing and utilities were paid and all that. So all we had to buy was our groceries and furniture for the little duplex apartment that we lived in. Things were great. We met new friends, and even there I met my future husband, but didn't know it at the time. I graduated from the 8th grade while we lived there, and started to Arvin High School. I went to Arvin High School for 3 years, and then my dad decided he had a better job opportunity near Shafter, California, so we moved there, and I finished my high school senior year at Shafter High School. Graduated in 1959. Actually, it was June the 6th, 1959. And married your dad and grandpa on June the 6th, 1959. He was in the Navy, and he came home on leave in 58. And he came to visit my mother and dad and me, and we hit it off, and we started dating and wrote every day to each other while he was stationed in the Navy in Hawaii. And on Valentine's Day in 59, we got engaged. And then I told you that we got married in June '59. It's been a wonderful life for the both of us. I mean, we had our ups and downs, but it's been a great life for both of us. We're still married after 55 years. We had 3 children. Our first child was born while we lived in Hawaii. After we were married, he was stationed in Hawaii, so I moved to Hawaii with him. We lived there for a couple of years, and that's where Steve was born. And he was born May 21st, 1960. And in May of '61, we moved to California. Ed got discharged. He got a job at Lockheed Aircraft in Palmdale, California. So we moved to Palmdale, California. In 1962, our son Scott was born. And in 1964, our son James was born. They all 3 went through grade school and high school in Palmdale. All 3 of them.
When the kids were in high school, you got a job at Lockheed.
Oh, while the kids were in junior high, I got a job at Lockheed Aircraft. They had a 6-week class that you could go, and they would teach you how to drill and rivet and all this kind of stuff. So I took it. It was 6 weeks, swing shift, no pay. So I had to pay babysitter for the kids, but I stuck it out, and I got hired at Lockheed, and I worked on several different airplanes while I worked in aircraft. I worked for Lockheed, I worked for Northrop, I worked for Rockwell, I worked for Northrop on the B-2. I had a 25-year career in aircraft. After Grandpa retired in 1994, in the meantime, we had bought a lot up at Pine Mountain Lake in Groveland, California, and had a house built up there. It was our retirement house. We had it paid for. The boys were out of college on their own by this time. And since Grandpa retired, I couldn't see why I shouldn't retire also. So I did. I quit. I didn't retire. I quit because I didn't have enough points to, and I wasn't old enough to actually retire. But I quit, and we moved up to Groveland in our new house. It was like a permanent vacation for 2 or 3 years. And then after that, while we were there, we joined a hiking club. We went into Yosemite Park 2 or 3 times a week. It was just like a permanent vacation. It was wonderful. But then Grandpa got sick with asthma, and it got pretty bad. So we decided, because of all the pine trees and the pine needles and the mold that grew on the ground under all that stuff, we had to get out of there. So we moved to Aurora Grande. We lived here in Aurora Grande for a couple of years, and Jim and Lisa and the boys decided they were moving to Porterville. And we thought, at least I did, be nice to live next to the grandkids and be able to see them all the time. So we sold our house, built and bought a lot up in Porterville in a new housing development, built a big, nice house there with the money that we got out of our Aurora Grande house, and even had enough money to buy a new car. Grandpa told me if I'd help him build the house, that he'd buy me a new car if we had the money left over afterwards. So that's what we did. And we lived there for a couple of years. And Jim and Lisa decided to move to Fresno. So we were going to be there all by ourselves. So it was me again. I said, I don't think I want to stay here any longer. So we sold the house and we bought back to Aurora Grande, and found out that all the houses that we liked we couldn't afford. So we ended up buying a mobile home in a senior mobile home park, which has been the best thing we ever did in Pismo. And it's worked out just wonderful for us. We're close enough to the beach that we can walk from our house to the beach. There's shopping is close. We had family here, Oscar and Joe and Wally and Shirley, and we were able to do things with them. So it's been great. We intend to stay here as long as we can, as long as our health will let us. Grandpa's now 77 and I'm 75. So life has really been good for us. We now have 7 grandsons, 2 which are step-grandsons. We have, all of them are going to college and they're doing well. Stephen, our oldest grandson, he lives in Florida. He has a 18-month-old daughter, Ellie, who is the apple of my eye. April, who is a step-granddaughter, has 4 children. She has 2 boys and 2 girls. There's Riley, Roxy, Joey, and Lexi, and they live in Tennessee. We've seen all the great-grandkids at least once. Ryan, our next to the oldest grandson, lives in Irvine. The other grandsons are in Fresno, and one in the Navy. One lives in Philadelphia, which he's getting ready to go into the Army. The other 2 are still in school. And our youngest one, Michael, he's a freshman in high school this year. Life has been really good to us. I'm really hoping that our kids and our grandkids have just as wonderful life as. Okay, I guess that's about the end of my story. I don't know what else there is. So, I love you all. Bye.